everyone, welcome to this video by Data Science. In this video, I have got a very interesting problem in front of you, and this question has been asked in a lot of interviews related to data science, data engineering, especially in terms of DSA Python problem. Now, the question says that you are given a list, for example, and you are given a target. You need to find two closest numbers to the target. So for example, there is an element 9 here. You need to find two elements which are most closest. Now what do you mean by most closest? That you will take absolute difference of 9 with each of the element, and you need to find the two elements for which the difference is least. For example, you have 1, 4, 7, 5, 10. Now what you will do, you will take the absolute difference with 9. Now if you see that for 1 the absolute difference is 8, for 4 it is 5, for 7 it is 2, for 5 it is 4, and for 10 it is 1. Now if we see that the two least ones are 1 and 2, means 7 and 10 are the elements which are closest to 9. So 7 and 10 should be my answer. But there are two tricky things here. The first tricky thing is that this 9 element could be present inside the list, or it could not be present inside the list. Now, if it is present inside the list, it is pretty easy to solve it by sorting. Second thing, if it is not present, how do I solve this particular question? That too in the O and time complexity. O and time complexity means I can use for loop only once. Okay, I can use for loop only once. So how do we tackle this particular question? So I have two approaches to solve this part. So please watch the complete video and try to understand both of the methods. That how first of all, we will try to solve using various sorting, and second we will which will involve a higher time complexity, and then we will use another method which will involve O and time complexity. So let's dive into the video and watch the complete explanation. Now, before we move to any method, what if this 9 element was present inside the list? Because right now we see that 9 is not present. So let us imagine a case when 9 was present inside this particular list. So how would you have sorted? How would you have calculated the two nearest element? So the step one would have been, we would have sorted the nums. So basically you will do nums dot sort. And now if you print nums, you see that the element is sorted. So now what you will do, you will technically print the element which is prior to 9 and which is after 10. So what I'm going to do for a, or for I in range length of nums, if nums of I is equal to target, then what will I do? Print nums of I minus 1, that is I'll print an element which is prior to this, and I will print another element which comes after it, I plus 1. So it would have got 7 and 10 which are closest to 9 from this list. The problem with this is two. First of all, this particular sorting makes this time complexity, if you know, n log n. So we don't want to solve it using n log n. And second thing is that this 9 cannot, what if this 9 is not present inside this list? Then you cannot print one number prior and one number later, because this condition will always fail. So how you are going to print 7 and 10? So that is what we are going to look in this particular video. So let's start with the discussion. We have two methods. So let's start with the method 1. So in the method 1, we are going to use dictionary and we are going to use sorting method. Now, when we use sorting method, the time complexity increases, but that's not my concern right now. Right now, we will try to solve this question using any time complexity. Okay, so what is my approach going to be? Now, I am going to start from this point. Okay, now what I'll be doing, I'll be going to each element of the list one by one, and I'll be calculating its absolute difference from my target element. So what is going to happen is that I will create and I will store the absolute difference in a dictionary. So remember, in a dictionary there is a key and there is a value. Now key will be each of the element, for example 1, 4, 5, 7, 10, and the value will be absolute difference from 9. So what I'm eventually going to create is, remember I'm going to create a dictionary. So for example, when I come to 1, the absolute difference of 1 with 9 is 8. So this will be stored as 8. Key 1, value 8. Now 4 will be stored as the difference of 4 from 9 is 5. Now comes the third element 7, okay, and its difference from 9 is 2. The fifth part comes 5 with 9. So the difference of 5 from 9 will be 4. So it will be 5 and it will be 4. And next comes 10, 9. So it will become 10 and 1. So if you see what I'm having here, I'm having the key 1, 4, 7, 5, 10 and corresponding absolute differences from the target element. Now what do I need to do? If you see, I need to return the two closest. So what do you mean by two closest? The absolute difference for those two elements should be least. That is, if I sort my dictionary based on my values and in ascending order, then I will get the two elements in the front. So what I'm going to do is, what if I sort this based on the values? So what I'm going to get? Now if you see, 10 has a difference of 1. So 10 will come at first in the dictionary. Then 2 will be the next element, 7 with 2. After this, so third will be 4. So 5, 4. Then it will be 4 with 5. And then it will be 1 with 8. Correct? And I need to get first two elements. So I will use a condition using dictionaries methods to print the first two keys from this particular part, and it will give me 10 and 7. So this is what I'm going to do in my first approach. Now here if I see, I'm creating this dictionary. This involves O(n) time complexity. When I am creating this sorted dictionary, so I'm using sort method. Okay, this will make my time complexity to be n log n. And after that, I can this particular thing using O(1) time complexity. So this is the overall architecture of my solving the question in the first format. That first of all, I'll convert it into a dictionary. Then I will sort the dictionary in ascending order of values. And then I will pick the first two elements. Okay, so let's try to code this particular part in my coder pad. So before coding, let us write down all our steps. My step 1 is to create dictionary. My step 2 is to sort based on absolute differences. Absolute differences in ascending order. And step 3 is to pick the first two keys from the sorted list. So this is going to be my architecture for this particular question. So let us start first of all by creating a dictionary where where key is each of the element and difference is the value. Okay, so let us start creating with this particular dictionary. So to create the dictionary, first of all, I will create a blank dictionary. So let us create a blank dictionary like this. Frec is equal to blank. Now what do I need to do? That for each element, so I will iterate over each of the list using for loop. So for num in nums. Now for each element, I need to create a difference. So I'll create difference which is equal to absolute value of num minus target. Okay, so for example, for 1 it will become 8, for 4 it will become 5, for 7 it will become 2, and so on. Now once I have created this particular difference, I need to create a dictionary and I need to add the element in this particular. So what I will do, for num in nums, frec of num should be equal to difference. Okay, so this is how this particular dictionary will be created, that frec of num, I have added the value as difference, and this will keep on adding. So now after this, just I want to cross check if my frec is, if my dictionary is getting populated correctly. So I need to just update print here. So if you see, my dictionary is created. So 1 it is 8, 4 it is 5, 7, 2, 10, 1, and 15, 6. So this 15 element is present there. Now I have created this dictionary. So step 1 is done. Now I will move to the step 2. So this is my step 1, that sort based on absolute differences. So how you are going to sort, we will see that in step number 2. Now to sort this particular dictionary based on my absolute difference, I will be using sorted method that is present inside the dictionary. So to that, I will create an object here. I will call it sorted underscore frec. So I'll be using, this is equal to dict, and inside that I will be calling my sorted method. So now what do I need to do? I need to pass few parameters. The first parameter is going to be frec dot items, because I'm exploring all the items which are present inside this dictionary. Now next comes the value on which I want to sort. Remember, this is a key value pair, key value. Now I want to sort on the second element. So I will be using a lambda function for this. Key is equal to lambda and item. So you can say item, and it will be item. Remember, I need to sort from this. So this is 0, this is 1. So I'll be using item 1. So if I use item 0, it will sort based on key, and if I use item 1, it will sort based on values. So I'll be using this, and because I'm using ascending, so I don't need to provide anything. Now I will just simply run print sorted underscore frec. So let me just remove this particular part. Now when I run this thing, if we see, now I'm seeing my sorted dictionary 10, 1, 7, 2, 4, 5, and 15, 6, and 1, 8. Now if we see, these are the 2 elements that I actually need. Depending, if I want 2 closest, if I want 3 closest, I will pick first 3, right? So depending upon that particular item. Now come to the step 3, where we are going to pick the top 2 elements based on the values. Now to get the first 2 keys from this dictionary, what I'm going to do, I'm simply going to select slicing method. So my step 3, what I'm going to do, for example, top 2 elements. Okay, this is what I have to get. So to do that, what I'm going to do, first of all, my sorted frec, this is sorted underscore frec. I need to get the keys from this. So I'll be using keys method on this particular part. So this will give me all the keys which are present inside this dictionary. Now what do I need to do? I need to only get the first 2 keys from this particular method. So I will be converting this into a list. So I'll do list of this part. So list of this part, and once I have done this, remember, because I have the list, now let's try to print this particular part. First of all, sorted frec is not defined. So yeah, I just need to create sorted frec. Now let's try to print top 2 elements. Remember, I have just converted it into a list. I have still not printed the top. Now let's see this. I have got all the 2 elements, 10, 7, 4, 15, 1. Now what do I need to do? I simply need to get the first 2 elements from this particular list. So how I can do that? I can simply use slicing. So I will do from 0 to 2. So this will give me element 0 and 1 from this list, and that is my final answer. So if you see, I have got 10 and 7 from this particular list, and this was my target question, that given any target, you have to print the 2 elements which are closest to it. Now you can try changing, for example, so for example, let's say this is 9. Now if I enter 8 here, So technically 8 and 7 should be the closest one. Now if I run this, I'm getting 8 and 10 to be the closest one. So this is how we do using dictionary method. The problem with this is that this particular part is on. Okay, this particular part is n log n, is O of n log n, and the third part, this particular, is again your this is not n log n, so you are using a for loop here, so this is again O n. So the overall time complexity of this particular code becomes O of n log n. And you know that n log n is not the best approach. So what we will be doing, we will try to solve this particular question without using sorted method by simply converting it into an O n time complexity. So now let's move to the method 2 to solve this particular question. Now let us discuss the method number 2. In method number 2, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a concept of dummy variable. Okay, so if we see that there are 5 elements in this particular list, and for each element there is a difference. So for each element there is a property called as absolute difference from the 9. For example, the property of 1 is 8 is its difference and 1 is the element. If we see for 4, 5 is the difference and you can say 4 is the element. For 7, 2 is the difference, 7 is the element. You can use comma, or we can use anything like this. Okay. Now similarly for 10, it is difference is 1, element is 10. And for 15, the difference is 6 and element is 15. So what are we going to do? We are going to create a concept of dummy variable or a dummy list. So let us say how we are going to do it. We are going to create a dummy list which has two tuples inside it. So let's say this is a tuple 1 and this is a tuple 2. Now this tuple contains two things inside. The first thing, it contains a very infinitely high number. For example, if we see here, the difference from 9 is of the order of 8, like it's a single digit difference. So I can assume a very high difference here. I can use an infinite number, or for example, I use, let's say 1000. Okay, and this is the difference. And let's say right now I don't have any reference point, so I will call this element as none. And there will be another element. So this is the highest difference, or you can say this is the closest one, which is 1000, and I will do another element which is higher than this. For example, I can say 1001, and which has none present in it. Now you might be thinking why I am doing this. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to start comparing each element's difference with this particular element and start updating this list as we move thoroughly inside this particular list. So just try to understand what we need to do. We need to create a very high difference here, and it does not matter what value you assume here, because this will eventually change. But just make sure that this difference should be of significantly higher number than what is the order of difference present here. For example, as I mentioned here, it was order of 1 of tens, and so I take 1000. Now ideally we will be taking this as infinite number. This will be infinitely large numbers. Okay, now once we have created this step, so I will start iterating from each of the list. Now let us see what I'm going to do. For example, I'm going to start with the element 1. Now if we see with the element 1, the difference is 8. So I'm going to compare. So let's say when I am at element 1, I'm going to see, is the difference of this element less than any of these two. For example, let's say this is difference 1, this is difference 2. If you see, this is difference 1, this is difference 2. If this element difference is less than both of this, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this particular tuple out of the list and I'm going to move this here. Okay, and this 1 I will move at the first place. So after doing the first iteration, the list will look like this. I will have this particular list and the first tuple will be 8 and the element will be 1. The second tuple will remain 1000 because I have moved this one out of the list. So it will become 1000 and it will become second element will remain as none. So what I have done so far, the closest element is 1 for me because its absolute difference is 8 and the second closest is this element with absolute difference as 1000 and the key is none right now. So I hope you understood what we are doing here. We are comparing these particular differences with the actual differences, and if we encounter it to be less than this, I will move this out. Now let's move to the second element, that is 4. Now if we are moving to 4, what is going to happen in this list? The difference is 5. Now because the difference is 5 here, I need to ask, is 5 less than 8 and 1000? If we see that 5 is less than 8 as well, it is less than 1000 as well. So I will remove this particular list out of this particular list. I will move this part to the right and I will bring 5 to here. So what is going to happen after converting this? After I visited 5, the value will, after I visited 4, the value will look like 5, and this is not, this has to be 1. So comma, so because I'm using a tuple, not dictionary, so it will be like 5, 4. Remember, 5 is the difference, 4 is the number, and second element will be 8, 1. This is the second tuple. Now what will happen after I move to third element, which is 7? So if I am at the third element, which is 7, so let's see what is going to happen. The difference of 7 from 9 is 2. Now 2 is less than 5, 2 is less than 8 as well. Now if we see, 2 and 5 are the two most lowest or difference one, or two most closest one. So I will move this 8 out here and I will move this 5 here and I will bring the 2 here. So the updated list after this process will become 2, 7 is my first tuple and 5, 4 will be my second tuple. Now let us move to the fourth element. The fourth element here is 10. Now with 10, if you see, the difference is 1. And now if you see, if I bring 10 here, I'm seeing that now 1 and 2 are the lowest one. So what will I do? I will move this 5, 4 out from here and the updated list will become something like this. So this will be 1, 10 and it will become 2, 7. And the last part where I see 15, with 15 I see that the difference is 6. Now this particular 6 is greater than both of these. It is greater than 1 as well, it is greater than 2 as well. So I don't need to remove anything because these two are still my closest two elements. So I will not be making any changes. My final list will look like this: 1, 10, 2, 7. And this is my final list, and these are my two elements which are closest to my target with the least difference, and I will pick 10 and 7. I will do some slicing on this list and get these elements. Now I know you might be little confused at what I just did here, so I will explain this concept once again. And what if there comes a scenario where one difference is greater than 5 and it is less than this? So in that particular case, what we are going to do, we are going to keep this as such. We are going to remove the second part. Technically is that in this list, I want the two closest elements only, and I want to remove the one which is a higher one. So I will always say that these are my two closest elements as of now. If I encounter any element, if that is the closest one, I will enter it here. I'll push this out and I'll move it here. If I encounter an element which is greater than this, then I will push this out and I will move it directly here. So let us see with once again this particular example, once again by clearing the board. So let us say we have this particular list here. I'm going to explain the working process once again, then we will move to the code. So let us say this was 1, this was 4, this was 7, this was 10, this was 15, and let us assume that there's a scenario when we have for example my target is 9. So what I'm going to do, 7 9, so let us say I have another element as 8 here. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create this particular list. Remember, how will my dummy list initially look like? My dummy list will initially look like this. Okay, it will have 2 tuples, like 1 tuple this, 1 tuple this. One will be infinitely high number and second will be its corresponding element will be none. Same for this one as well, infinitely high, second will be none. Now let us start creating the result after every iteration. So at the first iteration, I will see that difference of 1 from 9 is 8. And because 8 is less than both infinity, so it will insert at here. So let's say when I am at 1, my list will become like this. So I will have 8 and I will have 1. And my second element will look like infinite and element to be none. This is my first element. I am here till now. I will move to 4. Once I move to 4, what is going to happen is, for example, when I am at 4. Now see, the difference of 4 from 9 is 5. I will check, is this difference less than both of this and this? Yes, this difference is less than both of this. So what I have to do, I have to remove this one out from the list. I will have to move here and I have to move the other part at the start. So the element will become like 5, 4 and it will become 8, 1. Okay. Now imagine a scenario comes where you see a difference of 6, for example. Now you will say that 6 cannot enter here because this is the closest element, 4 is the closest element till now because it has a difference of 5, right? Now if we see an element with a difference of 6, I'm not going to change anything with this. I will move this particular part out of the list and I will enter it here. That's what we are going to do in the scenario where we have an element whose value lies between these two. Now let us start doing the third part where we are at 7. When we are at 7, the difference is 2. Now see, 2 is less than 5 as well, it is less than 8 as well. So what I will do, I'll remove the higher difference. I'll move this out and I will move 5, 4 from here. So this will become 2, 7 and it will become 5, 4. Now let us come to the fourth scenario where we have 10. Now with 10, I see that the difference to 9 is 1. Now remember, again, between 1, 2 and 5, 1 and 2 are the closest ones. So I have to move out the 5. I'll move 1 here. So my list will look like 1. It will be 10. And after that, it will be 2, 7. Now when I move to 15, what is happening with 15? With 15, I see the difference is 6. So it is not going to work because 6 is higher than this as well. It is going to higher this as well. So no modification will happen. My list will remain like this only, 1, 10, and it will be 2, 7. Now let's come to the last part, 8. With 8, I see the difference is 1. Now if I see that 1 is equal to this, so I cannot enter it here. But I see 1 is less than this. So what, I'm not going to touch this particular part. I'm just going to move out this part and I will move the new element inside here. So what will happen? It will remain 1, 10 and the next element 1, 8 will come. Okay. And if I see 10 and 8 are the two closest element to 9 right now. And this is how, using this step-by-step algorithm, I'm going to reach to my final step. And then I will use list slicing to get my 2 elements. So I hope you understood the theoretical explanation. Now let us move to the coding part of this particular question. So in the coding part, what we are going to do, we are going to define a a function. Let's call it def find two closest underscore elements. Okay, so let us write down the steps first. What is my step one? Step one is to create a dummy list with infinitely high value. Okay, step two is compare each element and its difference one by one. So what are the scenarios? Case 1 will be difference less than both differences. If this is the case, what I'm going to do, if this is the case, I'm going to insert difference from left, okay, and remove the right difference. That's what I'm going to write one. Case 2, if the difference is greater than 1, for example, if the difference is greater than first element but less than second. So if this is the scenario, that for example, let me show you once again that, for example, this was my list. So let's say this was my list at any point of time with two tuples. So this is the one, this is the one. Now my first difference, for example, is 1 with the element 10. Now second element is difference is 4 with element 6. Now if I'm getting a new element which is having a difference of 3 and the element number is 7, so what I'm going to do, I'm not going to remove this one. This will be as it is because 1 is still the lowest difference. I will move this particular part out and I will move 3 7 here. So this will become 3 7. So that's what I'm going to do. So if difference is greater than first element but less than second, remove the right one, or you can say replace the right one. And step 3 will be slicing the list. So these are the 3 approaches that I'm going to do. I know this, if you have not attempted this type of question earlier, it will be new thing for you. That's what my objective is, to teach you this type of architecture to solve these questions. So what is my input? Input is nums and then is my target. Now my target can lie inside the list, cannot lie inside the list. That's totally up to it. Now the first scenario is, if you remember, I need to return 2 closest element. So the length of this list has to be greater than 2. So what I will do, if length of nums is less than 2, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'll raise a value error. Let's say value error, and I'll print that list must contain at least 2 elements. Okay, so this is the scenario. Now let us start the coding part, main coding part. So the step 1, I'm going to do step 1, create a dummy list. So how you're going to create this particular dummy list, you will call it closest, okay, and you are going to create 2 tuples inside, 1 tuple, and let's say this is the second tuple. Now in this tuple there are 2 elements. First of all is the difference. Now the difference needs to be very large, so you can take a very large value as well, but what I'm doing, I'm going to create an infinite number. So I will use float and I will write down in math as infinite. So what this is going to do, it is going to create an infinite number for me. And what is the element inside it right now? Right now I have not given any element, so I will just pass it as none. Okay, this is my first float. Remember, instead of this you can write down a very high number as well. It's totally up to you. And I will just copy this tuple as my second tuple as well. So this is my closest. So this part I have done. The step 1 is done. Now let us do using the step 2. Step 2. So in the step 2, what we are going to do, we are first of all going to iterate over each element one by one and take an absolute difference. So for num in nums, okay, I'm going to iterate over this and I'll create a difference which is equal to absolute value of num minus target. This is my absolute value. Okay, so what I'm going here, calculate absolute difference. So this is the part I am handling here right now. Now I have to check two particulars. Now let us say I have created this particular difference. So what now I have to bring the checking condition. Checking condition. The checking condition is that if my current element, it should be remember it should be the lowest one. So what I'm going to do, if this difference, okay, is less than, in the closest, if I see this is my 0th element and this is my 0th, what I'm going to do, closest 0 means the first tuple, and if I do another 0 slicing, it will mean the first element, right? So remember, this needs to be the smallest. So if it shows that if this situation satisfies, what it will mean? It will mean that the number which is entering in this particular list is less than, difference is less than 1. Okay, so this is that particular scenario. Right now, for example, let's say this was 2, 10 and 4, 6. So now let us say a new number comes in with difference 1 and value 11. So now this 1 is less than 2, it is less than 4. Okay, so it will enter here. I'm writing down this particular condition. So how to write down? Let's say this is the list closest. So if you do closest, if you will do 0, it will give you 210. Now if you have to compare with 2, you will write down another 0. So this is what I'm going to do here. So closest 0, 0. So what do I need to do? I will shift second closest to the first, to the right, you can say. So I will I will drop the right tuple, insert new from the left. This is what I'm going to do, right? So shift the second closest, whatever the second, because this is the second closest now, right? So I will shift it here. I will shift this particular out. That's what I'm going to code. So how to do this particular part is closest 1 will become now closest 0, because whatever was present on the right, this particular part is gone. Now this particular part is actually the 0th one. So that's what I'm going to do. Closest 1 will be equal to closest 0. And what will closest 0 become? Closest 0 will become my diff, that is the difference I've created, comma num, which is the new element that I have entered. So this is the first part, and now we'll move to the second part, which is elif. So I just need to move it little bit here. So I just need to ensure it is indentation is proper. Yes. Else I'm going to do, or you can do elif as well. So you can do elif. So for example, elif difference is less than closest 1 slice 0. So what do I mean by here? I mean that, for example, let me just explain this particular scenario. So what do I mean by this particular line? If the difference that is coming here, Now let's say I had this particular list present here. The difference was 1, the element was 10. The difference was 5, the element was 9, for example. Now if an element with difference 2 and element 7 is coming up, so technically what it means, if the difference is less than this, if difference is greater than this and less than this, right? So it will come here. That's what I'm going to code. So this is technically what? Closest 1, because this is 0, this is 1. Okay, and then I will mark it as 0. Okay, so this is what I'm going to code here. If difference is less than closest 1 0, so what I'm going to do is update the second element. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, closest 1 will be equal to difference comma num. So this is the solution. Now what do I need to return? I just need to so let's say this is done. Now I just need to return 2 things. Now once I've created this particular list, I will have to return 2 actual numbers, which are, so the first number will be this and the second number will be this. So I will do slicing to return these 2 numbers. So how to return that? I'll do closest 0 1. Okay, and the second number will be closest 1 and then again 1. So this is how this function is going to work. And now let me run this. So if I just have to call this function, for example, find 2 closest elements on nums and target. So let's call this particular function on your nums and target. Let's say this is num, this is target. You will get as 10 and 7 the 2 closest elements. Now for example, if I add 8 here, if you remember, now it should return as 10 and 8 because 7 is not the closest one now. So it is giving as 10 and 8. So I hope you understood, and this particular question we are using solving using O and time complexity because you are using only for loop. Okay, so I hope you understood this particular question. I know this was little tricky. The second part was little tricky, but if you take a pen and paper, try to visualize how things are happening in your notebook and then start coding. If you can understand the architecture that I created here, you will understand this question very easily. This is a very important approach because this will be used in a lot of the questions that we are going to get in future. Now, just by looking at the code, you will think, oh my God, what he has done here, right? But if you understand the architecture, this coding is nothing. Okay, so thanks for watching this video. Please comment below if you like the explanation. Please like the video and share with your friends and subscribe to Data Science channel. We will come up with more such explanation videos on most frequently asked interview questions on DSA, on SQL, on and AI ML and other related things to data analytics. So again, thanks for watching to this video. Please subscribe to the channel and I will see you in the next video.